All right, react time, I guess. Should we look over the tooltips first? Let's look over the tooltips first. I'm probably not gonna look at everything. Anything changed here? Rampart still 20%, and they added a convalescence effect. That's kind of cool, man. OG convalescence, extra healing. Ooh, Abyssal Drain and Carbon Spit still share a recast time together. I feel like you could just delete Abyssal Drain at this point, man, but Abyssal Drain is one of my favorite skills from Heaven's Ward. Stormblood is really fun using it and dark arting it. It was a GCD. Just unnecessary button bloat at this point. The potency is what, 240? Okay, so it was a 4 target gain, but now it's a 3 target gain. You probably get some more usage of it. It's still primarily dungeon only unless there's some type of ad phase. Yeah, you could Dark Arts Abyssal Drain, heal yourself to full. This is the big change, Delirium and Blood Weapon. Delirium, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. We're delirious. Scarlet Delirium. This action cannot be assigned to a hotbar. Blood Spiller changes to Scarlet Delirium. So essentially, all that's happening now is Delirium is upgrading your traditional 3 Blood Spillers and changing them into 3 new buttons. Scarlet Delirium, comeuppance. Potency goes up each time. This kind of reminds me of Paladin's Holy Spirit combo. You get a new GCD each time you use it. 600, 700, 800. And then you also get Blood Weapon effect, which increases MP, and you get 10 gauge each time you use it. What does that mean? So inside the opener, I don't know when you'll push this. If I had to guess, this is probably between 3rd and 4th GCD off the top of my head. But I have to do some napkin math to say for sure. Because you would get the 20 gauge from Soul Eater, and then you would do your 3 Delirium hits. Scarlet come up, it's Core Cleave, which would give you an additional 30 gauge for an additional Blood Spiller. After that, I don't think there'd be any problem. You could pop this anywhere in between there, it seems like, as long as you can get the 3 hits before the time expires. You're also going to be missing 2 Blood Weapon hits now, so how does that affect your MP pull overall in 1 minute cycles? That'd be something I'd have to map out. Napkin math. There's really not much changing with this job, other than the fact that you have less OG CDs to use and less mana overall. I wonder if the 2 Blood Weapon hits are going to create situations where you don't have MP when you would want it. I feel like there's times, right, when you do a burst window and then some place where you want to use TBN comes up and it barely comes up with that last mana tick. So that could be something to think about. Very minute situations. Shadow Vigil is kind of crazy. 40% met. And then an XCOG effect for when you fall below 50 or after the duration ends. That's pretty sick. Wouldn't have mind seeing something else added to Oblation. I always thought Exaltation from Astro is what Oblation should have been. Mit plus a heal at the end of it, but you kind of get the heal at the end of it through Shadowed Vigil. But it would have been nice to have a little bit of healing attached to this, more so for dungeon content. It wouldn't have changed anything inside of Savage, right? Or Ultimate. Just be a tiny bit of HP.
Or upon the effect duration expiration. So basically, when you use Shadow Vigil, you're going to get this buff called Vigilant, and
Shadow
if your
Wall
HP
gives
goes
XCOG
below
now.
half, it will heal you for 1200 potency, which is pretty potent. Or if the effect
1200
expires, let's
is
say you never
huge.
go below 50%
It's an enormous
because
heal.
healers are respecting content. So Shadow Stride, it rushes to a target enemy's location. I wish that you could also rush to a party
Guess I should
member
pause
as
when I
well. I
talk.
wish it was like Thunderclap from Monk, but this is still better than Plunge in my opinion. It's basically just a gap closer that is strictly for utility, which is what gap closers should be. Gap closers should not be spam for damage in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to having all gap closers have no potency on it, right? It's definitely annoying to do, double plunge double
opinion.
on
So this
Gunbreaker.
change is huge.
The triple
so the
on
rotation
Warrior
is almost the same. Yeah, right. So something is going to have to give. So I feel like it's just going to be really tight. That's all I'm trying to.
Yeah, I mean, I've already discussed that, right? You don't need to. I can say that in a optimized situation, you're not going to pre-pull Shadow Clone, right? If there's a situation where there's going to be downtime where you wouldn't get the full usage of it, you would do it. But outside of that, right, you're going to probably pop it between your first and second GCD so that it comes up between your third and fourth GCD, assuming raid buffs still come out between the third and fourth GCD. Now, pre-pull popping it inside of, you know, I guess progression could be an option, as you're going to see if there is or isn't downtimes that are affected by it, right? You get all your potency out, but personally, I'd probably pop it between first and second GCD. And then Delirium, right? You can pop it pre-pull. It's essentially Blood Weapon, right? You can do TBN Blood Weapon, aka Delirium now. TBN Delirium, like you do now. Or you can also wait, right? You could pop it between your third and fourth GCD. There's nothing wrong with propping TBN and Delirium pre-pull. There's no downside to it. Not Edge of Shadow, but your Shadow Clone there is, because it would potentially be outside of the 2-minute buffs of your party, right? You'd be taking away our DPS from the raid.
Pre-pull all that
Yeah, it's always going to be hard / edge. This is 100% always going to be how you open. You'll never not do an edge in your first OGCD slot to gain the dark side buff.
Yeah, man, that just looks really cool. They did a really good job on those animations, I feel. Yeah, that looks dope.
That last
man.
hit is pretty sick.
So 37k. So pretty strong. Okay, so let's just get this over with.
37,000 heal, dude, after 40%
I have
met
hated
for 15
the TBN
seconds.
for years. It is annoying for no reason.
They
It
know
is
always say
obnoxious for no
TBN.
reason, and it is not powerful enough to warrant the risk of loss of damage. The lower cooldown very rarely matters. Very rarely matters. And the loss of damage should not be there. And it's always kind of annoyed me that Dark Knight has had all of these off GCDs, but then they also have the shortest duration cooldowns. So like, for example, you have Oblation that does 10%, and while having 2 stacks of Oblation can be useful, it's a lot of off GCDs, man, and especially just for a 10%, and it only lasts 10 seconds.
Yeah, I really
TBN
think
is
that
even worse.
Oblation should
The
have a
fact
heal
that-
effect on it like Exaltation, man. I know I said it numerous times, but when Endwalker came out and you could read Exaltation and then you read Oblation, man, it really feels like they should have been swapped. Exaltation's the same amount of mid as Oblation, but gives a heal at the end of the timer. I think it'd be sick on Oblation, especially for dungeon
they
content.
didn't change this still is like
Wouldn't
crazy
change
to
much
me,
in
because
Savage or Ultimate,
TBN
right?
in
Just
my
a small
opinion should
proxy
not
heal.
cost any mana, and it should not give you a free shadow. It should just be like Heart of Corundum. It should just be 25 seconds and that's it. That's all it requires. It doesn't cost you anything to use it. I've always felt that way. Some people agree, some people disagree, but regardless, Square Enix believes that it still should cost mana, so we're gonna go another expansion with this probably. Regardless, it's still the same. To me, it sucks. So if you like TBN the way it is, then it will be that way in 7.0. In my opinion, hopefully they change it. Hopefully they change Oblation. Like, I wish they would just combine those 2 moves or something. Honestly, I don't know. But it is what it is. One other
I'd much rather see Oblation get healing, and I like TBN, right? It's one of those minute optimization things where you, like I said before, you can bring a edge into another phase, such as top P5 to P6, extra damage for your group. Or, you know, for the true min-maxer elitist, you can pull an edge into your 2-minute burst window. Makes the high-level optimization a bit more fun. Now, obviously, people that use TBN and it doesn't break, that's a feels bad. That's a loss of damage, which is what
thing
he's...
that I wish they
or
would
what
have
his
changed
issue
is
is
actually
with it.
Dark Missionary. I wish they would make it level 70. There's no reason why this should be level 76 when all of the other tank mitts are level 70. It's kind of stupid to me. It doesn't matter very often. The thing is whenever I look at stuff like this, it's not about, okay, well, how many times is it going to be useful? I don't like to think about it like that. I like to think about it is, why not? So, like, why do the other tanks get their tank mid at level 70, but Dark Knight doesn't?
This
like,
is
why can the
100%
other
accurate,
tanks
right?
use-
Like, this goes for all jobs, right? Why does X job get X skill throughout the leveling process, man? Make it all standardized, right? It's just not tank mint, right? It's fucking AoE combos, right? Your very first dungeon, level 15 Satasha, some jobs can AoE, some jobs can't, man. In this case, some tanks can use a mitt inside of a level 70 ultimate, some tanks can't. should just be standardized, man. There's no reason that Dark Missionary shouldn't be level 70. There's no reason that all jobs shouldn't have AoE at level 15. This is just something across the board in this game.
And level 70
that is a
content, but Dark
problem.
Knight can't. There's no real reason. Like, they just don't care, or they just don't know. And that kind of bothers me a little bit. So this should be changed. Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't be changed. Like, it's not the biggest deal. I'm probably making more of a
No, you're not making a big deal about it, dude.
It just kind of bothers me a little bit. That's all. So I was really hoping to see Dark Missionary be level 70. I was really hoping to see Blackest Night also get changed, but it's not.
Let's move on to the next thing. But to recap, right? Dark Knight remains virtually unchanged. No potency on the Gap Closer. Blood Spiller has a different GCD like Paladin's Confetti combo. It's definitely more interesting to use, but it is essentially the same. Less OGCDs overall. Less MP. The less MP, right? I need to map out, right? Already talked about that. But you're definitely going to have less MP every 2 minutes. Does that mean you get less edges every 2 minutes? Does that mean you have less MP when you need TBN after a 2-minute burst? Think Buster comes up. Really don't know until I try out the new Delirium. See how it lines up. What do we want to look at next? I guess we'll look at Warrior next. We'll look at all 4 tanks. We'll look at Astro and Samurai. And then if you guys have any jobs you want me to look at, I'll look at. Well, those are the ones that I'm most interested in. I guess we can look at Summoner too, dude. I'm kind of curious if Summoner is the exact same job, just a different cosmetic summon. Oh, that's going to be funny. Where's Warrior at? Yeah, Xeno kind of spoiled this in the video, but Paladin and Warrior apparently have potency still on their Gap Closers. I'm not a personal fan of the 3 charges of Onslaught. Upheaval remains the same. Shake It Off is extremely good. Still has the same effect of buffing it. 30 seconds. Regen. Gradually restores HP. Additional effect restores target HP. Still no knockback from inner release. This is really good, man, but there's been a few times I've played Warrior, and this is ultra fucking annoying, right? Like, Titan knockback specifically, dude, you have to play around this. And then when I was progging the most recent Criterion Savage, man, I probably could have used my inner release a little bit different to get around it, but there was that one knockback on the, I don't even remember what the boss is, the first boss of the latest Criterion, that this effect would be up, man, and it was like, dude, I have to think about something else on top of it. But generally, this is really good overall, but I can remember some times where I fucking die because of the no knockback effect. Bloodwedding. This is a big one, man. Bloodwedding is so overpowered in non-raid content, right? I've cleared all the deep dungeons on Warrior. This skill is busted in that format. I recently did all of Eureka and Bajja. This skill is busted in all of that format. Anytime you do dungeons, right, I finish my Warrior tank achievements doing mentors, and dude, we don't ever need a healer, right? The healer's dead fucking half the time, man. You don't ever need him. You can heal yourself and heal your teammate. This skill is just, it's just so insane how strong this skill is in all facets of the game. Not as powerful inside of Savage or Ultimate content, right? But it is busted in all forms of content outside of that more casual side of things. The Damnation is the upgraded Vengeance. 40% like Dark Knight. Still has the reflect damage from it. This has always been fun optimization. Prime Evil Impulse. Healing over time 400 for 15 seconds. So what is that? Is that 2000 potency over 15 seconds? 3 times divided by 5 is 5 times 4. Is that 2000 it looks like? That's really strong like the Dark Knight ones as well. Very, very powerful. The Reflect can? I mean, technically it could. Primal Rend. I'm not a fan of the animation lock from Primal Rend. I assume that still exists. We'll probably see in the video. I really, really despise Dragoon jump animation lock. But using Primal Rend while it's only one button, to me it's really annoying that you have that slight animation lock from it. Just from a Dragoon PTSD. Our new skill, Primal Wrath, delivers an attack to all nearby enemies with a potency of 600. 70% for the remaining. That's kind of interesting, man. They do a bunch of different percentages for the fall off, and that's just between Dark Knight and Warriors so far. I do like that they have fall off skills. I really hate like Samurai's 2 buttons where one does a big hit and the other one does a big hit plus fall off. Just combine them all into one and decrease button bloat. I can't see this one. Really curious to see how Samurai Sine looks. Primal Ruination. This is the raid buff shenanigans. This is a good change to Warrior overall. The guaranteed crit direct hit rate. Primal Ruination ready. Primal Rend changes to Primal Ruination when requirements for execution are met. So this is the trend, right? Upgrade your level 90 skill at level 100 with the second button. So essentially Warrior's version of Shadow Clone. You get an additional GCD from Primal Rend usage. That's really all Warrior got, huh? They got one additional button? Am I missing anything? I have not seen this, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say Warrior, or Xeno says Warrior is fucking awesome, man. Flash prediction.
You know, in ultimate content, it's either it just kills you in one hit or you live. There's not very much self-sustain. There is a little bit. There is some, like with BJCC and T, they hit really hard their autos. So, you know, stuff like that, it will really shine. But for super big busters, it won't really have as a profound effect as the...
Yeah, thinking about that, actually, I kind of like Dark Knight's 40%. Because if you do drop below the 50%, you get that instant heal from the XCOG effect. While this one has a bit more healing potency on it, right? It's over time. So when you pop it, you know, you're going to get that initial tick. And then you're going to get hit by the buster. And you're not going to get that instant heal, right? It's going to be over time. So an auto still potentially could kill you with this, maybe, right? If your healers are slow or healer's dead. And they can't heal you, right? Versus that XCOG effect that'll more than likely keep you alive for the next auto with a 1200 potency instant tick if you drop below 50. I do kind of prefer Dark Knight's 40% over this iteration of the tank, 40% mets.
And it is really, really, really fun to use this ability, especially because it's off GCD and Warrior doesn't have very many off GCDs. So the next ability is the nuke, and that is Primal Ruination. I gotta say, man, these new Warrior abilities are metal as fuck. We get Damnation, Primal Wrath, and Primal Ruination. Holy shit. That is badass, man.
From a name, it is pretty sick.
Popping Damnation. Dude, that is cool as fuck. Anyway,
Damnation
so
up.
Primal Ruination.
Dude, Damnation,
it's just like Primal
I know,
Rend.
I know Xeno's big in the Magic the Gathering, man. Damnation's a sick Magic the Gathering card.
Dude, that's so fucking cool, man. Oh, man. Just fucking Primal Wrath. Boom!
Yeah, Warrior virtually remains unchanged at all, right? The only new thing you're doing is an additional hit of Primal Rend, Primal Rumination, and then you have a new OGCD every minute when you use your 3 fell cleaves, where you're essentially pushing in a release again, but it's the new primal skill.
Boom! And then boom! It's as fun as it looks. It's as fun as it looks. When you do these abilities, you're going to be like, yeah, yeah. You know, sometimes you see the meme, right? And then the caption is, guys will see this and say, hell yeah. That's one of these. Just hell yeah. It's really good. Anyway, now I want to talk about Storm's Eye. All right,
Warrior
so Storm's Eye
bias
still exists. Now, the DPS rotation of Warrior doesn't really change at all, except for you have one extra GCD and one extra GCD during the burst window. But besides that, it pretty much plays exactly the same. It's a little tankier, stronger on defense because of Damnation. All right. So basically, you can see it here on my hotbar. See it there. Reduced damage taken. Still has the reflex.
Where's
the cure potency? It's pretty decent.
Okay.
It will definitely shine more, I believe, in Savage than
I
Ultimate.
misspoke earlier.
I think it'll be a lot more noticeable in Savage.
It doesn't start till that in. So I do 100%. I prefer Dark Knight's 40%. Right? If you get hit by that buster, you get that big, 37k heal instantly that we saw in the previous video. Versus this one, right? You're not gonna, if your healer doesn't, you drop into sub 10% and your healer doesn't give you anything, it's probably not gonna save you from that auto.
Dude, we're very easy to satisfy. We're a bunch of fucking idiot monkeys, that's all we want to do. We just want to fell cleave. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that they gave us that is really, really, really fucking cool, at least in my opinion. If you were looking for a complete rework or a complete, like, a redesign or something of the job, then you're not going to find it here. But if you really enjoy the way Warrior plays now, you will love it at level 100. But yeah, I think that's it. That's really all I got for Warrior, man. It's...
Now, Warrior looks like it doesn't change much. Still going to be a really, really strong job with bloodletting in all facets of the game. Then, Savage is definitely the comfiest tank to play, rotation-wise. Not a lot of thinking on it, in my opinion. What do we want to look at next? Gunbreaker, I guess? Still 3 cartridges. In my opinion, Shadowbringer's Gunbreaker is one of the best designed jobs that they ever have made, all expansions. Cartridge job made it a lot more unfun to me. Having to do Demon Slice, Demon Slaughter to get a cartridge before downtime feels extremely bad. Delivers an attack to target and all enemies nearby with a potency of 800 and 60% less. That's really strange to me, man. Why? So we've looked at 3 jobs and they all have had different percentages for the fall off. This is one of the weirdest things to me, man, when they're trying to balance AoE potency in the game when they're really the only time you AoE is in an ads phase or inside of a dungeon, when how fast you kill that shit really doesn't matter whatsoever. So very strange, right? Warrior just had 70%. I'm pretty sure Dark Knight had 75 on one of them. Now Gunbreaker has 60%. Strange numbers. I guess you have to balance AoE damage between all the tanks. I don't know. Yeah, this is kind of a spoiler. No Mercy becomes Sonic Break now. I guess that's for button bloat, maybe? Gunbreaker definitely was on the high side for keybinds. So I'm not opposed to a button like that becoming... It's kind of weird, though. Is Sonic Break a GCD? Yeah, it still is a GCD. So your OGCD becomes a GCD. That sounds kind of weird, but... something you have to get used to doing, right? Because you have like that muscle memory of No Mercy being an OGCD, right? And then you got to spam that keybind to use it as your GCD is coming up. It's not a problem, right? It's just something you're not used to doing in the first place. Camouflage is the same. Aurora, trajectory. So yeah, this is kind of what we were spoiled on. Breakers, gap closer potency is gone, similar to Dark Knight. Increasing number of OGCD spam during the burst window. Definitely a good thing. Paladin Warrior should probably go this direction in the future. Maybe add a different type of OGCD to fill those slots. Heart of Light. Situation. Bloodfest gives 3 cartridges, 2 minutes. 800 potency blasting zone. Heart of Conundrum. Okay, Great Nebula. 40% mit, so it looks like all the tank cooldowns are going to be 40% now. And increases maximum HP by 20%. They added a Thrill of Battle effect to Great Nebula. Why are they putting Warrior's lore on Gunbreaker? Watch the video on this one. Help me understand changes. It's probably pretty simple, right? We saw the Job Actions trailer with the 3 GCDs that they did. That's probably what.
Because of this, it leads me to believe that they don't actually know what to do with this job. So I'm going to explain. What I think they should have done is just turn Bloodfest into a minute. If the potency wasn't so high, it wouldn't be as big a deal. You like Gunbreaker? Hell yeah, you do. You know what's awesome? That's a lot like Gunbreaker is liking and following this channel. Because if you like gun,
What the?
a lot more coming, bud. When you want shit done, bring in the gun.
I'm done, dude. I'm fucking done, dude. I'm done. I'll see you guys all tomorrow, man. Thank you for watching. What the fuck is he doing, bro?
You need to do that right now. To that follow, subscribe. But anyway, Gunbreaker's issue are kill times, cartridges, and the fact that it doesn't have a reload.
What did I just watched, bro? Oh my god, dude. Dude, I didn't think people could be cringe, dude. I didn't think Xeno could be cringe, man. Holy fuck, dude.
2 or 3 cartridges. I know that kind of sounds crazy, but it doesn't actually matter because your entire burst is set up by your Bloodfest alone. Your Bloodfest provides you with a Gnashing Fang. And
you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, it's not more so the opener, it's just how do you get your GCD to line up where you can do that at the 2-minute burst and, you know, plop the Bloodfest for the 3 cartridges.
And a double down. And in addition to that, when
do
you
you do
burn
before?
all
What
of
do you
those
do after?
cartridges, it won't matter because the Lionheart combo doesn't take any cartridges. So let's say that you up somehow because this job's really obnoxious to play and you pull out all your hair and you look like me. During your 2-minute burst, you can be assured that every single GCD during your No Mercy will fit, regardless of how many cartridges you have going into it, because your Bloodfest will supply you with everything. That's really good for the 2-minute, but they should have done that for the 1 minute. They should have done it for 1 minute. Just imagine if every 1 minute window, it didn't matter how many cartridges you had. You always had enough. You just would Bloodfest, and then you would have your double down and your Gnashing thing. That would be so much better.
What I'm saying, right, is how do you line your GCD up where you're not mid-combo, but you only have 1 cartridge? How difficult is that to do? Because you want to have 1 cartridge so you can start with Gnashing and then pop. And then pop your Bloodfest immediately to give you the 3. I don't know, man. Maybe it lines up naturally, right? But
than what it is now, man. It would be so much better. So, with all that being said,
sounds very restrictive, annoying to do.
Gunbreaker, in my opinion, Gunbreaker will still
you can't
be
roll your
annoying to
GCD
play
for those 20
against
seconds, right? Your
bosses
combo's
with
gonna
phase
break.
pushes and in ultimates, where you're not constantly attacking the same HP pool. It will also be annoying with downtime. You will probably still have to AoE combo from time to time. Single
Can you
target
roll your
just
combo
to
in
get
20
your cartridges. Is it the end of the world? No.
Oh.
Does it need to be changed? Yes. But I feel like I'm talking about the min-max and GCD timeline too much. So you know what? We're just going to say you're still going to get fucked, but it's not as bad. So we're going to say it's better, but it's not as good as it could be. All right, we're just going to leave it at that.
So basically what we're saying is this is the do not play
want to
tank
talk
under
about,
any
though, and it
situation.
is the gap closer. I don't want anybody to...
Yeah, so this is what we were talking about. Maybe he's covering it, right? So like right here, you don't want to end your No Mercy on a Brutal Shell. You want to have the 1 cartridge going into it so that you can end on the burst strike, but it looks like you might be covering it right here.
And you go into your burst with an extra cartridge, then you will be able to get a burst strike, but probably not a continuation.
Okay.
The Faded Circle also has a continuation now. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. I don't really...
Yeah, it looks like we have the same
you don't use
pots
Faded
just
Circle
later in the video.
like near as much.
That's what I
I think
recognize.
it's still a DPS gain on 2 targets.
All right, we'll look at Paladin now. Basically what I'm getting is Gunbreaker will probably be my least played job once again. So far, Dark Knight looks good, Warrior looks good, Gunbreaker looks like it's going to be annoying again with the 3 cartridge system and no way to get cartridges during downtime, forcing you to AoE in some situations. And then, like we just discussed and Xeno discussed at the end of the video, right? You're going to want to start your No Mercy with Gnashing, and how does that line up at 2 minutes? How does that work at 6 minutes with a potion and all those extra cartridges inside of your pot? You need to have the job and be able to hit a striking diamond to see how it feels. Imperator, instant ability, deals unexpected damage to target and all enemies nearby. The potency of fight. Dude, here we go again, man. Why does every tank have a different % fall off damage for AoE? So Requiescat becomes, I don't even know how to pronounce this, man. Imperator? Is that right? Imperator? That's very, very nice, because there's some times, man, when you try to can pop that shit as you're running away or running in, man, and it doesn't go off, dude, and it's like, it's a nice quality of life change, not having to be attached to the boss melee range.
But it makes sense though that they didn't really add too much because Paladin was the most recent tank to get a job change anyway, and I am a huge fan of Paladin right now. I think Paladin right now is very, very strong. I think it does a shit
Depends
ton
how
of
it lines
damage,
up,
and
Saros.
it's
It's
very,
10
very
extra
powerful
potency on the
defensively.
sepulture.
It's going to be even more powerful defensively in Dawntrail. The things that I do want to talk about, though, so this is the time in the video where we complain. One of the things that I'm going to complain about is Shield Bash. There's kind of like no reason for this ability to exist. I think it should be reworked or replaced. I feel like it's just been lost and forgotten. They don't really care about it. It's almost never used. The amount of times I've used this in the past like 5 years,
Yo,
I can't
Shiva
even remember
ad
because
phase,
it's been
man.
that little. That
shit's goated for Shiva ad
Shiva
phase.
ads because it was a huge
goated.
DPS loss to use this, and like that's what you want an ability to be. That is what you want cover to be. That's just really weird to me, man. That's very weird to me when people have that mentality. In my opinion, this needed to be changed. Another
There's no
ability that needs to
practical
be
use of
changed
cover,
is
right?
Hallowed Ground. The fact that it's 7 minutes is really, really obnoxious for an ability that is not remotely
Top rank?
close to being the most powerful fucking
P1
ability.
top?
Like, let's take a look at Hollowed Ground versus Home Game. Home Game completely shits all over this cooldown in every single way, shape, and form. The door.
I wouldn't mind
You
the
can actually
cooldown being
bowline
brought down
the
on
very
Hollowed
first
Ground.
buster and have it up again for the last buster. Now that matters because Hollowed Ground.
Like, just because you take no damage, right? The whole reason this timer is like this because they think that taking no damage is somewhat better than the other tank invulns, right? When it literally changes nothing, right? You're invulnerable for 10 seconds, man. You have so many free ways to get healing, right? It just doesn't matter in any practical situation.
You can't do that, and that's a problem. In situations like that, Hollowed Ground is at a clear disadvantage, and I don't really think it should be like that. Should they rework invulns? No, I don't think so. Should they make all invulns the same timer? Yes and no. I would be okay with it if they did it correctly, but I wouldn't like it if they f***ed it up. It's kind of hard to identify.
If they made all the invulns the same timer, right, then that's not... I mean, then this would be better per se, right? If they were all the same timer, because then it would have the exact same cooldown and you wouldn't take any damage in those 10 seconds. So in that case, it would be better.
The exact problem because there's so many different solutions
But at the end of the day,
how
it
to make
doesn't
it better.
matter,
I think
but
the easiest solution would just be to lower the cooldown by a minute, but then they would either have to do one of two things. They would either have to lower all of the other cooldowns for a minute, or they would have to make Hollowed Ground like Bowlight. So do you want to homogenize the jobs even more, or do you want to make the other tanks more powerful with having a lower cooldown? What's better? I would be fine with either. I can see arguments on both sides. But regardless, they have decided to keep this the same for now. Maybe this
You
kind of
just end up in the same
final release.
situation no
Hopefully
matter what you
Cover
do
will
with
see
this.
some love. Hopefully Shield Bash will see some love. But most of all, hopefully Hollowed Ground will see a change. But I doubt it, but we'll see. Everything else is the same, man. Like I said, Paladin recently got a rework, so I mean,
if it is the same cooldown as other, then it's
Paladin would
best
be pretty much
invuln.
the same. And it is. If you like Paladin now, you'll like it.
I guess
even more
thinking
level
about it
100.
more
I will
from
say
that
this, though, it was
perspective,
kind of-
right? Like, man, the timing on it, dude. That's its only fault is the timing. And obviously the activation, right? P1 Tank Buster Invuln, for example. The activation sucks on it. Alright, so in conclusion, after looking over the tooltips on all four tanks, the preference is going to be Dark Knight Warrior. And then between Paladin and Gunbreaker, I'll probably play Paladin, and Gunbreaker looks like it might be my least played tank as it was this expansion. Obviously, we need to see damage numbers, man. There could be a position where I do play Gunbreaker if it is, you know, one of the two meta tanks on damage, but based on preference, comfortability, comfiness, definitely Dark Knight and Warrior are essentially the same to me, and then Paladin, and then Gunbreaker's 3 cartridge system.